What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Nicole Gray. To be clear, hashtag the gray area. And it is still the inaugural week of my podcast. And it's Wednesday, so it's time for What's Going On. So, what's going on Wednesday? It's pretty self explanatory, but I still wanted a cool theme song. Maybe like Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? What's going on? What's going on? Or A Different World. You know, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Or maybe a little more H-Town. Willie D, Ghetto Boys. What the is going on in this damn world? But be honest, I can't afford none of that. So basically, this is the intro. It's What's Going On Wednesday. Let's get to the business. Y'all, the new Empire is back with a new season. Not the old Empire, not the Lee Daniels one. I'm talking about the new Empire. You know, starring Jussie Smollett and the new Chicago PD. You know, the PD that actually solves crimes now. Well, it's back on, y'all. That's our topic for What's Going On Wednesday. Now, for my listeners who haven't been keeping up with the new Empire, don't worry, I'll give us a recap. But in my opinion, it's way better than the old one. I stopped watching that the first season. Is it canceled? I think it's canceled. Hell, I thought the new one was canceled until they came out with the new season and episode on Friday when a Chicago judge appointed a special prosecutor to investigate how local prosecutors handled the case. It's about to get good, y'all. Y'all, I ain't gonna lie. I could tell from the pilot episode that the new Empire was gonna be good. Now, the pilot episode starred only Jussie Smollett and the Osandario brothers. Now, I can't really pronounce their names. I more affectionately refer to them as Millie and Vanilli. Now, the pilot episode starts off with Jussie Smollett walking from the subway in Chicago. It's cold, it's the end of January, he's walking alone, and suddenly comes into the picture Millie and Vanilli. Now, we don't know that it's Millie and Vanilli then because they both had on masks. Well, as they approach Jussie Smollett, they yell out homophobic and racist slurs, then pour bleach on him, place a noose around his neck, and assault him. Child, I grabbed my popcorn then. Now, the pilot ended with an associate of Jussie Smollett calling the Chicago PD over to Jussie Smollett's home to take the report. Now, when the Chicago PD arrived, Jussie Smollett still had the noose around his neck. I said, man, it's gonna be good. But at the end of the show, the police released a report to the public saying that the attack had happened, the public was outraged, and they were on the lookout for the suspects. Now, initially, the police said that there was no surveillance video, but at the end of the pilot episode, 2 grainy images from a neighbor's surveillance camera floated up. Oh, and the suspense was on. Season 1 picked up right where the pilot dropped off. It started with the Chicago PD's investigation of the two grainy images in the surveillance video. Now, it took the police a couple of weeks to identify the two men in the video, and during that time, Jussie Smollett made an appearance on Good Morning America, and he even had a little bit of a public boost for being a survivor of this racist and homophobic attack. Episode 2 of Season 1 starts off with the Chicago PD identifying the two masked men as Millie and Vanilli. Now, I was a little excited that the two men were Millie and Vanilli. Okay, hear me out. I'm a little bit of a softie, so knowing what I know now, that they were extras on the old Empire, I was just hoping that since they starred in the pilot for the new Empire, that they would get a starring role, or at least a recurring one. But as I found out pretty quickly, that wasn't the case. Season 1's plot quickly started to thicken as Chicago PD started to grow frustrated with Jussie Smollett and his level of cooperation. Chicago PD requested Jussie Smollett turn over his phone, and there is some question whether they asked him also to turn over his phone records. Well, feeling uncomfortable with doing so, citing his celebrity connections, Jussie declined to turn over his phone. Now, that pissed off the Chicago PD. And matters didn't get any better when Jussie Smollett went on Good Morning America and made his case that he was a survivor. That really kind of got under the skin of the Chicago PD, because at that time, there had already been suspicions that Smollett had something to do with the attack. Now, Season 2 started off with a brief appearance from Millie and Vanilli when Chicago police arrested them on February 13th as the men identified in the grainy surveillance video. Now, they were released just 2 days later on February 15th, and after walking out of the Chicago PD free of charge, they've not been seen much. However, before exiting stage left, Millie and Vanilli left the Chicago PD with new evidence that turned the investigation straight toward Jussie Smollett. Now, in the middle of Season 2, after visiting with Millie and Vanilli, the Chicago PD started to wonder whether Jussie Smollett had paid the two brothers $3,500 as the brothers had claimed in order to stage this attack. Well, Smollett's attorney responded, saying, as a victim of a hate crime who has cooperated with the police investigation, Smollett is angered and devastated by recent reports that the perpetrators are individuals he is familiar with. He has now been further victimized by claims attributed to these alleged perpetrators that Jussie played a role in his own attack. Nothing is further from the truth, and anyone claiming otherwise is lying. But less than a week after Smollett's attorney's statement, the Chicago police started presenting evidence to the grand jury, and the grand jury returned indictments for Smollett for making false police reports. Season 2 ended with Smollett turning himself in to Gaspard all over the world. I ain't gonna lie, Season 3 was a little boring, aside from the facts that CPD went on Good Morning America and kind of made a fool out of themselves in the unprecedented move to go on national TV to talk about a pending case. The CPD was kind of slammed pretty hard for that one. And the FBI also slammed CPD, saying that they overstated their case when they claimed that the $3,500 that Jussie Smollett paid to Millie and Vanilli was indeed for the attack, and also that he'd sent himself a letter a week prior to the attack to his job at the old Empire that was a hate-filled letter. Other than that, in season 3, there wasn't a whole lot of action. So you had an apology from Millie and Vanilli. You had some off-put jokes by almost everyone, including Chris Rock. And other than that, there wasn't much going on. It surely wasn't as juicy as season 2. The suspense started to build again in season 4 as Jussie Smollett awaited trial on 16 counts of disorderly conduct for making false police reports. But just as I had popped my popcorn and gotten ready for the courtroom drama, the state's attorney's office dropped all the charges against Smollett in exchange for community service and a forfeiture of his $10,000 bond. I thought sure that was the series finale, but the plot just continued to thicken. Now, at that point in season 4, former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel joined the cast. Now, I don't know why, but he did. Emanuel expressed his public outrage with the prosecutor's decision to drop the charges against Smollett, and he called it a whitewash. I'm sorry, that just cracks me up. After Emanuel was finished with his grandstanding, he had a letter sent to Smollett requesting that Smollett pay the city of Chicago $130,106.15 to recompense the city for the time expended by the Chicago PD in investigating this so-called false claim. The city of Chicago gave Smollett 7 days to pay the $130,000, or it was going to file a lawsuit. Well, come to find out, Jussie ain't paid because he's always maintained his innocence. So I figured, we get to go to court. Yay, season 4. Aside from the fact that I'm a lawyer who loves a good courtroom drama, I was ready for all the evidence to come out. Because while the investigation was ongoing, the underlying evidence was not subject to an open records request. So I was ready for the seals to come off, and they did. By the end of season 4, we had all of the tapes, all of the phone records, and everything pretty much other than the prosecutor's file for making its determination for dropping the charges. Unfortunately, by the end of season 4, Jussie Smollett had been canned. But he's still on the new Empire. Well, I guess that's not the same. Now, this brings us to season 5, which started Friday. Now, there were previews of this season in mid-June when a Chicago judge stated that he was going to appoint a special prosecutor to look at the whole case after being prodded a bit by a local retired judge who just was not feeling the fact that Smollett was let off scot-free after facing 16 felony counts. The show started off with Cook County Judge Michael Toomin appointing the special prosecutor like he said he was going to do. Toomin appointed former U.S. Attorney Dan Webb, one of Chicago's most high-profile defense attorneys. Webb is tasked with taking a fresh look at all of the evidence in the case. What that means for Smollett is that he still may face charges stemming from the January 29th attack. Now, this season seems like it's going to be pretty good because we had a few previews on Monday. Now, we have the looming civil suit in the back, the city of Chicago versus Jussie Smollett for the $130,000 repayment action. And both sides have been filing motions. Earlier this month, Jussie Smollett moved to have the repayment action thrown out. And just Monday, the city of Chicago responded saying, Jussie Smollett is a liar. And because of his lies, the expenses that the police incurred in the investigation were a direct cause of his lies. We'll soon see how that all turns out on episode 2, season 5 of the new Empire. But y'all, this thing just keeps getting gooder and gooder. We've got to hang on to see what's going to happen next with Jussie Smollett in the criminal instance, because he now is in jeopardy of facing criminal charges again. And then on the other hand, we'll have to see how the civil trial turns out, because if Jussie Smollett's motion to dismiss is sustained, there may be some truth to his side of the story. We gotta stay tuned to the new Empire, y'all. It's back on. Now, I am so glad that you all joined me again today for What's Going On Wednesday. I hope you join me tomorrow for Thirsty Thursday. That one's dedicated to the thirst traps. That's one of my favorite ones. We're going to have some fun. See you guys tomorrow. As always, to keep up with what's going on with Nicole Lynn Gray, make sure you go to NicoleLynnGray.info and subscribe. Until tomorrow, I'm out.